Welcome to California Live Podcast, and today we are with Colleen, Saftler, and the man in the room, Will Roberts. And today we are criticizing the Oppenheimer. We're criticizing the whole thing, beginning from its casting, which Will was a part of, I assume,
Wow.
and until the numbers that we got. So, Colleen, thank you for joining me today in criticizing Will. Will, thank you for being the canon meat for us today and representing the whole team of the Oppenheimer.
You know what? I did have to say that I absolutely did not read the fine print before I came into this interview, but I am. Oh, hold on.
That's what happens with people when. Yeah.
I am ready.
Oh, okay.
So
That's good to know.
That's the reason why Will didn't get any documents. I wanted him to show the genuine surprise of what's going to happen to him today.
Oh
But
man, I'm being roasted.
well, no, not you. The film. In fact, I told you, I think that I watched the film twice. I had probably the best nap of my life twice, and I was lucky enough to wake up and watch your scene. But again, it's not just about personal feelings about the project. Colleen, you've done some research. You've probably you'll be the best to kick start the conversation, and then I'll be adding up some information.
I want to preface all this by saying that I love you all both,
Uh-huh.
but with all due respect, in any situation where someone is put into something where they go here and you don't know, there's a good chance that I might eloquently defend myself and the film. But go ahead.
Well, we want you to be authentic. So here's what
I
makes
can't be anything else but that.
well,
Vicky knows me.
yeah, for those who do, but it's good to know that, and not everybody is authentic. So
True.
it's right. So coming forward and speaking your truth, which we're all going to do, it makes for a much more interesting conversation.
Okay.
So one of the things that the research that I did on this, and I found very interesting, and it really stems from a conversation that Victor and I had, is that the movies that win the acclaim and the movies that get the critical acclaim from the critics and the people, the talking heads, aren't always the movies that do well at the box office. In other words, they don't always reflect what the average audience, the general audience, the people who are willing to pay to go to the theater and see the movies, they don't always jive. And so part of my research that I did when looking into Oppenheimer, I also looked into some of the other films that won awards in the last Academy Awards last year, and then those that are probably up for awards this year or that will most likely be nominated, and how all of them did at the box office versus their critical acclaim. And it's quite interesting when you start looking at the ROI on a film, as Victor and I've talked about, the return on investment compared to what people actually think about it. So it's funny. So the big question last year with Oppenheimer was the sort of the battle between Oppenheimer and Barbie, right? There was this people were
Barbieheimer.
Barbieheimer. Yeah,
Barbenheimer, yeah.
Barbenheimer. And it was fun. And just like any controversy, it actually brings attention to the subject, and the more attention brought to the subject, I think is great for business,
Sure.
right? So there is no bad publicity, wasn't that?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to jump in and tell you
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, and I believe others too, that the other movie, Barbie, absolute opposite, did their release the same time for a reason. Because when you're talking about the fact that we just came out of COVID years and whatever, and no one wanted to go to the theaters, they needed to find a way to be able to get them. And this being smart, Barbie piggybacked off of Christopher Nolan, because let's be honest, you don't think that Hollywood or anybody else is looking at female directors and going, I'm there.
Right.
So in with all due respect, I believe, and everything I say in this interview is I believe,
Okay.
is that they were smart from a marketing standpoint because money talks and walks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
So
would you, Colleen? I'll jump in. Why do you believe that they would piggyback out of Oppenheimer? Why don't you think it's the opposite? Because the way I see from COVID times until today, we have a lot less of some intellectual content in films. It's reproduction of the Marvels or whatever, which
right.
you just sit down, you eat your popcorn, you don't really think.
Nope.
To me, honestly, people would rather go and watch something brainless. With no offense to anybody, it's just entertainment, right? It's not like you have to go think.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, relatively, like comparatively, was a lot more difficult to watch because you have to know the history, you have to know who was the general, what was that black and white versus colorful,
But that's
right?
the point. The point is that, again, with all due respect, number one, I don't believe what you're saying is not true. I believe that the audience is number one, and it's been proven recently that they're dumbing down scripts. And
Right.
the reason why they do that is because we spend our time doing, remember the old adage, squirrel, squirrel, or
Right.
shiny objects, guys would always, I believe the new one is scroll, scroll, scroll.
Mm,
So with content going now at 2 to 3 seconds to catch your attention, of course, Oppenheimer might have said, "All right, well, we have ours out," because I remember the sequence. Then Barbie said, "We're going to release it," and they're like, "Okay, Barbenheimer." Of course, I imagine that the studios said, "Well, sure, this seems like a good piggyback as well." I'm saying they piggybacked on Oppenheimer because they came after, if I remember chronologically.
the
Okay.
release dates? You're talking about release dates?
I'm talking about Barbie released their information about them letting their premiere of their film the 21st, I believe, of July, after Christopher Nolan said Oppenheimer's coming out because they did a huge push for 6 months going X amount of days, X amount of days. So Oppenheimer started this whole little wave of you better pay attention because we're going to press the button and the atomic bomb's going to blow up and the movie starts on the 21st. Then Barbie came in and said, well, so are we, Barbenheimer.
Right.
So I believe they all worked, whether or not it was on purpose or not, to complement each other's open.
Right. So honestly, that's that's not the part we're really interested in, although I think that it's interesting, and then from a marketing standpoint, because in the end it is about how much money the film is going to make. And if the slightest change from opening date from before or after another movie, that's all taken into account as far as, they're trying to make the biggest impact, the greatest opening weekend, that kind of thing. But I actually want to get to, before we too much time goes by, I want to get to what Victor really brought up, and is why it's not, in his opinion, and I'm going to address that in my opinion as well, um, as great a movie as everybody, like, to win the best picture. It was a great movie. I honestly enjoyed it a lot, but I found fault with it, and I found some things that I felt that could have been done better. Where when I watched Barbie, I didn't really find that. I didn't find as many of the flaws as I found with Oppenheimer. And my flaws, the thing that I found was some of the things that they left out from history and from his personal background that I think made a big difference to me. Like, there's this one scene in the movie where he comes in, and I believe it's like toward the end of the movie, it's after everything has happened and it's gone off and it's been tested and, all is well. And he walks into like a gymnasium of the school,
Yeah,
and everybody's in the bleachers and they're all
yeah,
stamping and making all this noise. And he has a moment where the sound kind of drowns out, and you come to understand that he's kind of overwhelmed in the moment, and he's gone inside himself, and it was done well. But what the movie never explains, and I think is prominent in who this man is and what he dealt with, is that he had severe anxiety throughout his whole life.
Yeah.
And they tried to show that in that one scene, like one scene depicting that in the level that it was at, I don't think was enough. And I don't think they gave enough.
Okay, so I got to jump in.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be anything but informative, but
No.
did you miss the scene with him by the tree? Did you miss the scene with him falling apart throughout the movie? Did you miss the scene where he smoked a lot and he was very stressed out? Because that part of the movie, in my opinion, was him actually all that coming into fruition because the bomb was then, he had an enormous responsibility in then with the A bomb. And when it was finally dropped, he's sitting here with people praising him. And internally, what I got from the movie and what Christopher did was in the writing was we got to see that he was overwhelmed by not the people going, oh, this is you saw the woman deteriorating in the thing. That was
Yeah.
his daughter. That was
Right.
Nolan's daughter. You saw that woman falling apart and people outside throwing up. That
Right.
was the magnitude up to that point of what happened. And one more thing I have to say is that you're telling me that you found less wrong with a movie about a plastic doll with no history than you did with Oppenheimer?
No
Of
history.
course.
There's history to Barbie.
You,
And I don't know
oh,
that.
hold up. You're talking about a movie about a plastic doll. And I'm talking about a movie with actual history that, yes, you can dispute, but isn't that the idea that when we look at history, if you don't know it, you get to learn it. And if you know it, you might be, well, enlightened that you didn't know everything about it. And it may not give you exactly everything you need, but then you have the job as a human being and an educated person, I hope, to be able to go out and find the real story, which starts conversations like the one we're having.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't think it didn't, I think it gave its purpose, but I just have a hard time. I'm a little offended by the fact that you think that a movie about a plastic doll and her other plastic friends with no genitals had less wrong with it.
but see, that's where you're wrong. It's not a movie
Am
about
I
a
wrong?
plastic doll.
Am I wrong?
I think, well, from your statement, you said it's a movie about a plastic doll, and it's not.
It is. It is.
No, it's a
What other
movie
reference?
it's a movie about what Barbie brought and who she was to the children and the imagination that they were able to live out lives, and that little girls were able to then see themselves as something greater and bigger than the mommies and the things that they had been relegated to by society. Barbie opened that up, that as a
And just so you know, Barbie did not open that up. Barbie had that already open and shed light on, like Oppenheimer, on things that people may not have known or even realized. Because look, my wife, I almost said woman, my wife is a big feminist. I absolutely adore her. But the reality is that if this is not a new subject, the plastic doll part is the history. What Barbie did for girls, well, all I have to say is yes, but Barbie went on the heels of what already has been happening, whether it's Me Too or it's any other stuff. And look, I'm not going to say woke or whatever, but the reality is that a lot of people watched that film and went, that's just more woke stuff. And with all due respect, I have I think I would walk into walls if it wasn't for my wife, because she is brilliant. And I'm in many ways just a guy going, I don't know where the hell I'm going. If she knew I was dressed like this, she'd probably kill me on an interview. Point is that Barbie may have amplified, but by no stretch of the imagination do I think that it started some major new paradigm. It was already there. They just took it and went, I got an idea. Let's do a movie about this plastic doll. And yeah, some can say that it gave great perspective on what women may be going through. And we had a lot of fun. We didn't need to think. But to compare it to Oppenheimer and the historical significance of the A bomb, having a hard time with that one.
well,
Well, I'll give you.
that comparison you did.
I'll give you an example. Oppenheimer created the bomb, obviously, and then we had a few accidents in the world and stuff like that. Now, as Colleen mentioned, the story behind the Barbie, or I've read quite a few articles about the sexualization of the character, and even the song. What is that about? They created another bomb of slow action with sexualization of the society and whatever, as you mentioned, woke stuff
Agreed.
we have. So whose bomb is of more effect?
Relevance?
That's for us to remain to be seen, I think. But
Yeah,
Well,
I think
everybody has their cause, and
right.
and duly so they should. And look, I can watch. I haven't watched Barbie, to be honest with you, but neither is my family. But the point is that, and I have a 14-year-old girl, and I've only been married once, never going to get divorced as far as I know, and a 10-year-old boy, and they have a major respect for all humans, not just guys, and not just women. But the point is that, no, I understand what you're saying. It's just, all I'm saying is it's hard for me to compare something that literally, for example, in the scene I'm in Oppenheimer, General George C. Marshall, if you don't know about him, he created the Marshall Plan, which helped Europe back on its feet. And he did a lot of amazing things. He was a very low-key guy, didn't want a biography written, all that fun stuff. Point is that if Marshall in that scene say, well, World War II would be over, our boys would come home, one of my lines, and he said, I don't think this is a good idea, the world would be tremendously different. Now I have to ask you, do you really think that the creation of Barbie, the plastic doll, has done the same?
Well, here's what I don't really think that you're.
Is that an answer you're going to give me on that? Is that an answer, or are you going to give me another point? Are you going to answer my question? Do you think it has the same magnitude?
What I'm about to tell you, if you'll allow me to elaborate,
okay. Yes, please.
Is that what you don't see? That's a very direct and reference, and you can point to a time in history and say this and that. But what I don't think we're able to see, and I can't do it at this point, is reference the millions and millions of children, specifically little girls, but maybe little boys too,
Yeah.
that have been influenced by the dolls, playing with the dolls in their life, and the imagination that comes from that, and the fact that they could play with Barbie and have her be a doctor, and they could do all these things that have led to them growing up to be whatever. The imagination and the play that comes from something like that, there's no way to calculate that. There's no way to say how many people were influenced,
Right.
and if a little girl that would never have thought about becoming a doctor became a doctor, and maybe that doctor became a surgeon, and maybe that surgeon saved lives. Like, we can extrapolate it out. We don't
Yeah.
have that kind of information like
You're
you
right.
have with Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
But to me, that doesn't take away from the fact that, sorry, my phone is
That's
buzzing.
right.
It
You're
doesn't
next.
take away
You're
from the
next,
fact
Victor.
that this iconic doll had a huge effect on a multitude of population of young girls that still is playing out into the future. And I know
I
that
don't. I
Oppenheimer
don't
is,
disagree.
we've actually gotten off track, because this isn't, and I don't mean to shut down the discussion, but I think we've gotten away from where Victor originally wanted us to go, which was it's not necessarily Oppenheimer versus Barbie, but just why we felt that there were some challenges with Oppenheimer. And Victor, speaking of which, you came on very strong with how you felt about Oppenheimer. Other than the fact that you fell asleep during it, is there anything that you want to share about specifics about the film where you felt it didn't live up to expectations?
Well, first of all, I didn't want to disrupt the discussion. I felt it's genius, and I'm so happy and proud of myself that I kind of brought it up, and I'm just enjoying the show. I mean, the first row, I just don't have popcorn.
Wait, I'll go get you some.
Popcorn actually feels good.
but but it's really a nice discussion, and the impact cannot be really calculated per se. But yeah, let's get back to
But
Oppenheimer
I
itself.
have to just say one thing
Go
to
ahead.
close out what you just said, and I want to say with all due respect is that I believe that what you just explained about how women or even well boys or girls have been affected by Barbie, actually in my opinion, you're talking about good parenting. You're talking about a community's effort. You're talking about family values because look, I don't really think, I mean, I used to play with G.I. Joes, but that didn't make me want to join the military. I used to have a big collection of G.I. Joes. I got guns. That doesn't make me want to run around shooting my gun all the time, and I'm one of the best there is. My point is that yes, we have props, but with all due respect, cornflakes made the slogan about 50, 75 years ago about breakfast is the most important thing. Do research on that. And let's get back to the movie.
You
Because
know,
it's marketing.
I would really I would be curious to see if you will would play Ken, how would discussion be today? Which direction you
I take off this and go, look, the hair is almost the same. And I'd be awesome. And you know what? I'll be right up front with you. If I was in a Barbie and I was Ken, I'd be talking shit.
and we lost
We lost you. Oh,
Anyway,
that's too bad. We
well,
lost
you
you.
did.
so you were saying if you were
I mean, I'm saying, look, I'm a professional actor. If I happen to be in that movie, then I probably would be saying some trash about Oppenheimer, but I doubt it because I don't believe the parallels are the same, but it's okay. Go ahead.
so as I mentioned in the beginning, the film first of all felt extremely slow.
Yeah.
And I guess I would ask you a few questions related to that pacing.
Okay.
You've gone through all the production, probably from casting and all the other work that you've done to prep you as a character, your research. Um, what was the casting based off? How did they cast people for the film? Because I believe their presentation, their acting also impacts the pace.
Yeah. First of all, I was did what we call a self tape because after COVID, thank God actually, because I was doing 2.5 hours each way to LA to go in and do what I call dance monkey dance, which is like, hey, I'm here, hi Will. And then I'd read for and be in the room for about a minute and then leave and come back and maybe come back again another day for a callback. So because of COVID, we have our rooms that we shoot our auditions in. And so I got my audition. It was very secretive, didn't know. It was called Gadget. And I was reading some generic scene that I know was fake. And I did the audition and I got the role. Well, consequently, as well, my agent died 2 days before of COVID. So, yeah, he didn't even know that I got cast. So I thank him. Oh, wait, he's an agent. I thank him and say to him, thank you for at least submitting me for that. But you know, Victor, this industry well enough to know that when you do that, what happens is that they're going to go after their A-listers and the people they want for the name. And I remember a comment coming in after casting happened, and the casting and some comedian, female comedian, said, if you're a middle-aged guy and you haven't been cast in Oppenheimer, then you don't have a career because basically it was in essence, and we've talked about this. I told my agent years ago, going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to work again because now everybody that they're casting is not in my category. And I mean that from an ethnic standpoint and an age standpoint. Well, Christopher Nolan, thank God, did create Oppenheimer because he put some of that back on the map. And so now it's a little bit easier for me to navigate Hollywood. But in answer to your question, I mean, they go after names. I mean, everybody that's in it, when I saw the cast list, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So with that being said, I don't think anybody should be surprised that any movie is going to have some really good and they're going to have potentially some not as good.
I mean more the performance, because you could have the best names, A-lister names, but the performance is different. For example, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Genius Tarantino, he's well known for long lines, for long dialogues. I watched the film 2 times in a row without closing my eyes. It kept my attention, kept me.
Sure.
And now in here we have, again, great cast, great actors, but it's so slow. It's just, either that they didn't care for what they do, or because I haven't been behind the scenes, I haven't seen, were they prepared, what's the attitude.
Sure.
That's why I'm referring to the casting.
Sure.
I think
Well,
that's directing and not the acting, because in the end, if the director wanted the pace to be picked up, he could tell him to pick up the pace.
yeah, but I think that Christopher got what he wanted from the movie, and being on set and watching him, one thing that struck me was that, and I've been saying this at all the film festivals I show up at, is that I'm lucky because our industry of Hollywood, or I should say in general, filmmaking, is based upon we audition, and what happens is, yes, we do an audition, and there may be 50 guys or 150 guys going after the same role as I am. It's a matter of, one, how you read. There are a lot of factors, but one, how you read, and two, what kind of confidence do you instill in your performance that they look at you and go, I'll spend $100 million on this film and put you in that role, because that's what it's based upon. And again, Victor, you can hire, I don't care if you hire Sir Laurence Olivier. If he's having a bad day or he doesn't do the role well, it doesn't mean that, number one, he's a bad actor. It just means that he didn't do quite the job that you hoped he would do. But I think Christopher Nolan seems to be pretty happy at being able to say this is what he liked and created, because the minute he puts it out in public, and he's a pretty methodical guy from working with him and also knowing his films, that when he does that, he's doing it and going, I approve. It's kind of like a political ad. I approve of this movie, and so you can watch it. If he didn't, I'm pretty sure he would have figured out some way of, maneuvering it not to. But I'm pretty sure he's happy with what he did. Is it long? Sure, but so is history. And you know what? Sometimes we just, maybe it's because we've dumbed down movies so much that we look at this and go, are you kidding me? I'm not going to sit through a 3-hour movie. Why not? You're going to learn about history.
Colleen, you had a.
Yeah, so I blanked on the name, but it came back to me. It's very different. Like, I did not fall asleep during Oppenheimer. It kept my attention. It was a little slow in places. I didn't think
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie it was. However, the movie that I've compared to another 3-hour plus movie, Babylon, I walked out. I couldn't take it anymore. It was just endless, and so much superfluous scenes and information, and it felt like it was going nowhere. So I rarely walk out on a movie, and that one I did. I couldn't stand it. So it's not just the length and the fact that it's telling history and all of that. I think
It's
that
personal. It is personal taste.
yeah, it is personal taste, part of it.
I mean, I look, I'm sure at some point I'll watch Barbie and I'll go, and I spent 35 years in musical theater, folks. So this is not a guy that's going, oh, damn it, they're singing again. I love good musical theater. And I think that's gone away a lot because now it's all like funky, weird stuff. In my opinion, I'm kind of a 42nd Street or Chicago
No,
type
it
of
is
guy.
evolving. Oh, that is a whole discussion we need to have, because I'm also a musical theater person. That's my background. And I just think that it is evolving and it's inspiring. It's awe-inspiring. But with Wicked doing as well as it is, that is a musical. That's, downright, it's out of, Wizard of Oz and all of the tropes that come from that fantasy musical theater world, and it's busting box office records. So
Well, you also should know, and I know you know your history, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you that. Do you know what films were most popular during World War II? In the height of World War II? Musicals. You
sure.
know why? Because, like Barbie, we don't have to go there to think. And we also get to escape and go, oh, that's awesome. Make them laugh, make them laugh. So why aren't we surprised that Barbie comes out after a couple of years of COVID and it's a major? By the way, it made its $1 billion before Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Oppenheimer actually never hit number one at the box office, and it still hasn't hit $1 billion. worldwide, as of today, Oppenheimer made $975,594,978.
Yeah.
So it hasn't crossed the $1 billion mark yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's again, it's the more intellectual. It's a drama. It's a biography, drama, history versus a comedy musical. I mean, Barbie has its very, very poignant moments. There 2 or 3 times during it I cried because it is so heart-wrenching and touching, and there's the authenticity and truth that really hits home from that movie. But it's also fun and lighthearted, and it's just enjoyable. So
Mhm. Do you have a demographic breakdown of Barbie? Because I would probably say, and not this to sound sexist, but I would say a very good portion, I imagine, of the demographic would be 25 to not even 54 women.
I don't have that. I mean, if I given time, I could look it up and find it, I'm sure. I found a lot of very interesting information this morning when I was putting this together. One of the things that, just for movies in general, when you look at your top grossing movies, and I'm going to say even just in the last year or two, when I was looking at the statistics, because you can look like at all time versus like last year and all that. But I think I was not doing the all time. I think I was just concentrating on this last year versus this year. Almost all of them are hero, heroine. They're like DC Comics, Marvel, Disney Studios. They're either animated for kids or they're specifically aimed at the 15 to 25-year-old boys, young men, the action adventure hero kind of thing.
They make money.
They make a ton of money.
And they make action figures and they make T-shirts, and I don't have an Oppenheimer shirt or a.
Right.
Point is that money talks, walks. The other thing. I mean, and that's why they do it. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, but you were talking about demographic and what pushes a movie and saying it's the young women. Well, what pushes most of the movies that make the most money are young men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine. But in this case, I'd be curious to see the demographic, because I imagine because of the movement that Barbie had taken and has pushed forward, I would say that there's an awful lot of young women.
It would make sense, of course.
Well, yeah.
Well, I guess young men as well. Back to quality of acting. I know you spent some time behind the scenes, probably observing people, and without again calling names and stuff like that, mentioning names. I do really want to know, honestly. You don't need to create, a beautiful picture, because the film is successful, whether I slept or not. I had great nap. Please tell Christopher when you meet him that I appreciate the nap.
I have a really bad signal here. By the way, do not get AT&T as your service.
Okay, no problem.
And this is what we call an editing moment. Go ahead.
No, we'll leave it, because with your promotion, we just lost AT&T as our sponsor.
Well, that's where the editing comes in, Victor. Come on.
We want to be authentic. We have so many media channels that are fake, and with the elections, which we're not going to discuss, they brought a lot of polarized feelings from both sides, and I think we have to cool it down, make it healthy. But back to my question, you've worked with these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, who are the A-listers, and I've seen them doing other films with a lot more that they put into it. And I don't know whether it was, their bad mood in the morning or something else that impacted them, but was it something that they were different? Like they didn't care. That's what I felt. A lot of the presenters in the film, A-listers, not folks like you, because to me, you went through a competition. You really wanted it. And then you went to the museum, you did your research, you've spent months. I didn't feel any of that enthusiasm for any one of the A name.
Well, I will say that So that was a 12-hour day. And I was just on set that one day. But, with all due respect, and I'm so glad that that scene is, in the middle of the film. It's where we decide whether or not we drop the A bomb. Spoiler alert, we did. But,
It's
but
where we decide to wake up.
yeah. But yeah, there you go. I'm glad. Because I would have been pretty pissed off if you said, "Oh, yeah, I didn't. Were you in that movie?" Um, because I'm in the trailer. And that's another thing. I woke up one day, 3 months before, and I'm like talking to my wife, and I go, "Oh, look, something came up. Oh my God, I'm in the trailer." So that was really another one of those, like, hey, because actors don't really get this all the time, but sometimes they'll get this. And in that case, I was good with this. But what I will say to you is that one of my first experiences when I walked on set at 4 in the morning and got into my garb and all that stuff and walked on set was that Cillian Murphy came up, and I'm telling you, he was definitely Oppenheimer, and he never let go. And and I know what he did to prepare. I heard after I did the film, and I did the same thing because I knew that in that room of all the A-listers, that I was coming in there as a guy that really had an extremely prominent presence in there. And I remember Christopher at one point saying to me, he goes, because it was um, scientists, politicians, military, and I was military, and Matt was across from me, and James Remar, Warriors, whatever. He was there, and we were the military. And Christopher said, "Well, you don't need to. Just so you know, you don't need to sell them; they're selling you. So I want you to do your line towards Matt and do it towards James because." They have to convince you because again, like I said, if Marshall said, "Yeah, I don't think this is a good plan," because Marshall was a boots on the ground military guy. He believed that the troops were going to solve the problem and make it happen. But because of the American sentiment on World War II happening or in the midst of the South Pacific and Pearl Harbor, that was one of the big reasons why he said, I don't normally do technology, but I think to save Americans, we should. But my point in bringing that up is that I love working with actors that understand their history. And if there isn't any, Barbie, um, you create that because our job, and you know this because you're an actor, is that we have to create that backstory. Otherwise, people go, "I lost you here."
Yeah.
And all I saw was your face going, "You're a military guy." One of the things that the Marshall Foundation, Melissa, the librarian, awesome, I just spoke to her today, is that she said, we watched Private Ryan, and that was been since then has been our indicator of a marshal. And we believe that when you did your marshal, that marshal became a caricature. He was being military. We're gonna solve the problem of America, and he was being a caricature. And she said, "You were Marshall." And why I say that is because when I see another actor like Cillian Murphy going through that process and being there and being precise, I actually at many times had to go, "I don't know what he's saying," because he was so soft spoken and really relating to that character, in my opinion, that's what he's obviously like me, like a method actor, where he became it, and so I appreciate that. I can't say that in any production that I've ever done, and I've done over 60 something films or TV. I can't say that about almost any film I've done. There's always going to be people that go, "I'm going to phone it in." And I am not by any stretch of the imagination saying that anybody in Oppenheimer, because I think everybody in Oppenheimer dialed it in. That's why you talk amongst yourselves, and I'll go get my SAG award, my Screen Actors Guild Ensemble Acting Award, because obviously it was voted for whatever that's worth by our peers to say, wow, as a team, there was no I.
Yeah. I would say that I agree with that. I didn't find that any particular actor either
Stuck out.
tried to or did run away with the show. That everybody uh, came and showed up authentically, and that it there was a lot of give and take among the actors.
Sure.
From an actor's point of view,
Yeah.
watching as an actor, I saw
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, again, I can't tell you what anybody else's process is, but I can tell you that, yes, I've had to watch the film. I don't mean it that negatively, but I've watched the film maybe 7 or 8 times in premieres and blah, 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 or film festivals. And I've watched it a bunch. And I think that's one of the things that Christopher got out of this film, that he got everybody to understand that we all are making this happen, and it's not just Robert Downey Jr. It's not just Cillian Murphy. Now, they were in the positions to be able to get those accolades, but I believe that we all felt as though we did, we did come together as a group to create something. And Christopher made sure that it wasn't someone in a caricature. So in answer to your question, Victor, is that that's a tough one for me to be able to assess whether or not I can, even if I put a name to it, of anybody that was not in my theme. Anybody that was ill-educated, maybe that's the right phrase, if they weren't educated about World War II or who they were in history. Because it was intense, that 12 hours, because we go in. The other factors are that camera was the size of a dresser, and 2 guys had to come with the film every 20 minutes and put it on there, and it would go while it was filming.
Wow.
And it was this close to your face. And the bottom line, and that's the other, by the way, another little point about why I think one of the reasons I got cast was Marshall was in his late 60s, I think, at the time, when in that moment. And the fact of the matter is, I'm 60 now, but I think what he did, because of 70 millimeter, is that if I get really close to the camera, I don't think you're going to look at me and go, he's 70. The point is, I think he might have gone a little younger, because when you do 70 millimeter, I found out that I have a couple of pores that I didn't know about. So I think he cast accordingly. And I'm blessed that I guess I looked like and held myself the way General Marshal did. And obviously he felt my acting was up to what he needed, because it was a big thing that when you walk in that room, you sit there and you go, if he didn't think I was capable, again, actors' job is to be confident about their work, and that takes educating and working every day.
Right.
I wish I could say, Victor, that there's someone that sticks out of my mind, because I have no problem that I go, but I felt as an ensemble of everybody, I felt that they did a great job.
Well, they're all great at what they do. I'm not saying that it's a complete zero, but first of all, when you have a professional actor or you have a celebrity, the attitude is different, right? They wouldn't tell Matt Damon to get out of a room, because that's Matt Damon, right? But for example, in particular, his performance to me was a little bit weaker than he's done in Ford versus Ferrari or other films. While we were waiting for you to get back on camera, Colleen mentioned that you've rewatched his film with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
So to me, it felt weaker, and I don't know why. Maybe because they didn't care, because they're rich enough. They have the reasons.
Well, I would say, I've watched many actors or actresses, they're called actors in general. But I've watched many people in films and went, yeah, I don't know if they really caught the essence of that. But, when you're on that level, and I hope I'll be on that level soon. I'm not hoping, I will be on that level. There is a thing that defines and separates actors from other actors, and that's why, I mean, there's 2 factors. One, they're either really cool, awesome, hot, and they go, we're going to make a lot of money off this actor, so we're going to continue to push them through even though they can't act, because we sell tickets with that person. And then there's the other people that you go, they're so extraordinary that, like Daniel Day-Lewis, everybody loves him. I think he does a great job.
Who's
But
that?
Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah. Anyway, but they do an amazing job at really internalizing and bringing it forward. And really, there's an essence of acting that I believe, and I wholeheartedly embrace this, called I don't give a shit what you think.
Yeah.
Because the minute you act and give a damn, you're not acting. Well, I'm sorry, you are acting. And
You're
the
not
problem is,
being.
yeah, you're not acting from the right thing. When I walked in that room, I was Marshall. No doubt about it. I was Marshall. I knew everything. I sat there, I listened, I did my thing, and that was my job. Most actors, a lot of actors have a hard time with this whole situation because they think that even if they have four lines, especially when you talk to people doing co-stars and, you know, one liner, whatever, under fives, which is not many lines, they think that they have to be or not to be. When in reality, we were there in Oppenheimer to thread a story together. And anybody that would have been up here hopefully would have been pushed down. Because, and in regards to Matt Damon played General Groves. That was his job. And for all, with all, you know, things taken into consideration, he acted like a lot of generals and military people I know. Did he come off as sincere? That's your decision.
Well, it is interesting. I think that part of this discussion also has to be that as actors, we make choices, right?
Yep.
So choices about the character, choices about how lines are delivered, or how you're going to approach a particular character, and it may not be everybody's cup of tea. So that does play to what you're talking about. Like, I'm not doing this to please everybody. I'm doing this because this is what feels authentic to me. This is
Right.
what this is how the character is speaking through me, and therefore these are the choices I'm making. And
Right. And yeah, and you know, a lot of times, because I do a lot of westerns because I guns and whips and so on. And a lot of times I'll walk on set and I've seen films because in our Western world, people, all of my other fellow cowfolk, we're very critical about you're not holding the gun right. You're what are you wearing? What's this? You know, and so, you know, a lot of times I'll be in a movie with someone and it's a Western and I'll go, that is not a Western actor. Because there's a certain quality of doing a Western that I can say, like Russell Crowe, I would never, I mean, I've watched him in Westerns and I go, that's Russell Crowe. But but they hire him to be Russell Crowe. They hire Matt to be Matt Damon because of his success and because he obviously has the chops.
right.
And by the way, do you know Christopher Nolan's new movie? You know who the star is? Matt Damon.
Okay.
So I guess that worked out.
Yeah.
But you know, with all due respect, I understand what you're saying about that. I still want to get back to the Barbie and Oppenheimer thing, but I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
Anyway, yeah.
We're free. We support free speech.
No,
Go ahead.
no. I think I think that what in that subject, I think the most important thing is that will we get people back into the theaters when you have to pay over $100 for a family of four just to get your popcorn? And will streaming or verticals, or if you don't even know what that is, will we have a union? Will we have an industry? It's burned down now and it's already been on the decline. So I think the most important question to ask about any of these films is, are they helping the state of the industry?
Good question. I'm glad that you mentioned verticals, and that'll be my probably second genius move because Colleen is very pro film and good stuff, traditional film. Will is promoting verticals, filming on iPhone, and I'm hoping to have another passionate discussion about that.
Okay.
Will, why?
How much time do we have? Let me just sum it up for you. I've done probably 7 film festivals in the last 6, 8 months or something like that, talking and doing a Q&A about Oppenheimer and Marshall. But the other thing they asked me about, because I'm not going to be shy about this. I am very up to speed on the industry, what's happened, the union, what we're shooting, short films, film festivals. I know a lot of that. And to the point where I like to believe of myself to be someone that has a good intuition about where we're going. And let me tell you this: 96% of the people stare at their phones all day.
Mhm.
Scroll. You have to capture people's attentions in the first 2 seconds or they move on. Verticals are done this way because that's what everybody's doing. No one wants to go like this and watch a film on their screen. With that being said, the things that are digestible now and wanting, I almost want to take the camera right now and do it, but I know
No, thank you. Yeah.
but I know how you're editing. Yeah. But the point is that when I go on these platforms, let me tell you numbers. I went on to a place called Real Shorts, giving them a plug, I guess. And the ones I searched up comedies, and the ones that are comedies are in landscape mode, but they're really just people that put their short films on there. But when you go to the verticals on there, let me give you numbers. If you go to the regular ones like this and you see the comedies and the different films that they've done, they have an average of about 150,000 to maybe, if they're lucky, a million. Do you have any idea what a vertical gets on an average?
No clue.
70 to 250 million views per episode. This is the thing that I'm telling you, that because you can shoot it on this, because yeah, go get your red cameras. I don't care if you got a Canon. I don't care if you got a real Canon. The point is that people don't care because the resolution that you're staring at on your phone is at max. What, Victor, 720? I mean, the bottom line is that because of Blair Witch, because I worked at Fox Kids for years back in the 90s and early 2000s, and I watched Blair Witch, and I said to the studio, I go, everything's changed. And they go, why? I go, because now you can film things through your dirty underwear and no one cares because it's about post. And now, fast forward to now, if you don't think that the things that are being digested are all coming from your phone, for the most part,
Yeah.
unless you're 50 and up, and you're all still getting there. But even my mother-in-law and father-in-law, you know what they watch? YouTube. Point is, if everything is there and the industry is, I make this comment all the time, and I got attacked by someone 2 days ago that said, how can you attack the film festivals for short films? They just brought you to theirs and they had you speak. And I go, I'm not attacking the film festivals. I'm attacking them in the sense that Film Freeway keeps taking your money and all you get is a water bottle that was crushed up and it says first place, and you get a laurel and people go like this. But let me ask you, the last short film you did, has anybody funded it yet? No, because that's not the model anymore. Even the industry right now is going, which way did he go? Which way did he go? And the reason why they're doing that is because the model of streaming isn't working for them. But what is working is that when you have 250 million people watching these people on the verticals, and by the way, they're horrendous. It's not even a joke how bad they're, either from China and they're going to be samurai ones, cool, at least they're fighting, or they're going to be, which I think is cool, or they're going to be the ones in America, which is a bunch of kids that are 20 going and they're half naked and they're getting millions and millions of views. And you know what that means?
Money.
So why would you spend your time making a one-off film, hope you get it in a movie theater, hope you get distribution? It's not there anymore. The model is not there. And the union certainly isn't pushing that. Wish they
So what I
would.
hear you saying, Will, is that it's still about whatever you're doing and trying to produce, it's still about eventually getting the money and the backing for it to be something big and to get it out there, right?
No, I'm saying that you can take your phone right now and go down the street and find 3 dogs rolling around on the ground, and you can film it and probably put it on a vertical and make an awful lot of money. But here's the thing and the difference. This is not your dad or your mom's industry anymore. It's not about like you're going to get the funding, everybody's going to have a huge crew, you're going to shoot it, and then you're going to be on the movie screens and you're going to get checks all day long. Now it's about, I've said this over and over again, actors don't get that the word show business, here we go, Victor, has business in it.
Right.
That's the problem. Can I ask you a question? Did you know before this conversation what a vertical was?
Are you talking to me or
Yeah,
him?
you.
Me. Not by that term.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, not by that term. I
All right.
understand the concept and I understand what it's happening and everything else that you've said, I already get. I already
Okay.
do.
How
But
about, do you know what a UGC is?
User-generated content. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
User-generated content. During COVID, I made $500 for every 20-second ad I did going, oh yeah, I got my mortgage and my blah, 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 and check it out. Blah, blah, blah. I had people coming to me because I'm an expert at UGC. First 2 seconds, I would do a hook. Oh God, I'm sorry, I dropped my phone. Hey guys, if you're watching my post, you should see that I got this thing. I learned, and it was a great acting exercise too, because it made me realize that if in 2 seconds I'm not believable, they'll scroll.
Yeah.
And why I'm saying that to you is because people have the attention span now of a gnat. And with that being said, think about this. If you walk into a casino and you want to play blackjack, you got to, if you don't know blackjack, where do you want to sit? First or third? And you got to know how to manage your money.
Yeah.
Acting and the business is no longer about sitting on a tall bar stool in West Hollywood with your legs showing. Certainly not mine. It's about what you know. Victor does this all day long. I've known him I have a tremendous respect for Victor. I don't know what you're doing with Victor in front of the camera, but if you aren't, you need to, because he understands the business. He shoots it. He's got great cameras. He knows how to direct. He knows how to do all that. If you've seen his series, awesome. That should be a vertical. Point is that how hard is that to do? Learn how to edit. Learn how to shoot. Use your phone. Be a millionaire. Or if anything, use it to take yourself as an actor and catapult yourself. So people, if I told you that I can get you in front of 200 million people, I bet you'd show up.
Yeah. Now, are you talking about are you talking specifically like YouTube and Vimeo and all of those where they're monetizing the views, right?
Yes, but but they're monetizing the views, but the verticals pay you based upon downloads of watching the episodes, which by the way are a minute to 2 minutes long. That's
Okay,
it.
so who is they? Who's they? That's what I'm
Well,
trying to.
there are vertical platforms that you can
Okay.
take and make your verticals and push it to them. Now, YouTube is creating their television station and
Mhm.
going to allow people like you and me to take our verticals and put them up there. They already have their shorts. They
Right.
just copied Instagram and
Right.
following that type of thing. But if you get over, 1,000 followers, subscribers, you'll get X 1,000 a month. Blah, 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 blah. I know people making $1 million a month off of content, and all they're doing is.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, why not use your talent? Use the people you know, make your own stuff, and take control.
Yeah.
And UGC commercials, I mean, I bet do you get Actors Access?
I do not currently. I was on Actors Access, yes.
Okay, well, wherever if you're a Casting Frontier, Casting Networks, whatever, if you look at those, because I have for the last, well, whatever, I'm not a member of them because I figured out another way. I actually decided to do business and contact the people.
Yeah.
And casting directors, and people are like, you can't do that. I go, funny, because 80% of the people I send a note to saying, look, I don't subscribe to that $27 a month. By the way, Casting Networks made $33 million last year. Guess what they made it from? Actors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I got that too. That's why I'm
So
not.
the point is that if you look at their breakdowns every day, I did a statistic analysis of it. 85% to 90% right now are verticals being auditioned for or UGC commercials. Why? Because you do a commercial that costs $5 million. You got all the people from New York sitting in Video Village going, no, wait, you got to go like this with your collar. You got to blah, 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 and here's some escargot for lunch and blah, blah, blah. That cost $5 million. You know what it cost for me to make a commercial and go, oh, I got this great implants and they're wonderful. $50. And then they pump in, my clients on mine were pumping in $120,000 per commercial I was doing. And they were calling me going, these are blowing up. You know exactly what you're doing. Here's more. Here's more. During COVID, I was making $2,000 a week sometimes doing these. So, with that being said, of course, you have to be careful as an actor not to do too much of that because you don't want to, excuse my expression, whore yourself out and then have them go, yeah, but I saw that guy in a pretzel commercial that was a internet thing, and I don't want to have that guy.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
Right.
Take control of and anything we do nowadays. You have the opportunity to take control of your destiny. And if you
Right.
don't,
And
it's
I
your
think
own fault.
yeah, that is the main takeaway with today's the verticals and everything you're talking about is that there's so much opportunity out there for writers, actors, directors, anyone is to just do it yourself. It's the DIY, right? Do it yourself era that we're in, and
Yeah.
create something, create content, and get it
Yeah.
out there because that's
And
your calling card. That's your business card. Yeah.
well, and the other thing is that in closing on that, I'll say that if you don't know Chat GPT and you don't know how AI works and you don't embrace it, go work at Starbucks because they'll tell you exactly what button to push. Promise you. Because the fact of the matter is that I equate this to the auto industry. When the auto industry back when I was a kid, or even I don't know when it was, but the auto industry had a big strike because they were striking because they're going to bring in robots to make cars, and they're like, "You're not going to do that." How did that work out? How it worked out was the people that were smart and understood the technology and were in the industry that had their expertise, and the industry said, well, let us help you and we'll figure it out. The people that adjust are the
Yeah.
ones that succeed. Welcome to the new world of Hollywood.
Yeah. No, you're right.
In one of our conversations back, I think last year, you mentioned that when you witnessed the previous strike, then we got real reality TV or something like that. Now, obviously, with more opportunities online, with short form content and what you've described, we still had another strike of writers and actors.
And now gaming.
Well, yeah.
There's one out right now. There's a strike right now because of games.
What are you expecting now?
I'm being vocal about this, and whatever the case may be, but I thought it was a mistake anyway, because let me put it to you this way: if you had a boss and you kept going up to your boss every day, going, "You need to give me a raise," well, I know I do, but right now that's not the way it's working out. But I appreciate it. And if you went up to him every day, eventually the boss would probably say, I can't have you here anymore because it's just not working out because I can't do this. I told you my thoughts. The union did the strike, and I said during that strike, I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea because what you're doing is you're pushing the big boys. Now I get it, rattle the cage. You got to do what you got to do. You have everybody has their cause, but the point is that in this industry now, you either have to go off and do your own thing and try to make your mountain and stand on top of it, or you have to abide by their rules. But unfortunately, there are no rules now. So what can I say about the status or the where we're at? Learn as much as you can, because like when the tech boom happened and I was in Silicon Valley at the time and I learned how to do it. I actually took a job at Toyota and Lexus, and I was doing some promotions for them, blowing up balloons at slasher sales. And the guy that ran the Toyota and Lexus group said, "Hey man, you're awesome. Would you like a job as a salesperson?" I went, "As a car salesman, I'd rather cut my head off." And they go, "Well, that's rude." I go, "But it's true." And I said, "But I'll tell you what, if you give me an office back here, let me sell on the internet." And this was 97 or 5. And he's like, "Internet? Are you joking?" I sold 15 cars a month back in 97. San Francisco Toyota, I was in Central, called us up and said, "What the hell are you doing?" The point is that I forced myself to learn what I needed to be able to adjust. And I got a demo car every 3,000 miles, and I did real well. And I spent that time in the room 40 hours a day, 5 days a week, learning the internet.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is because what's the status or what's the situation in the industry and where is it going to go? That's up to you.
Yeah.
And look, I get people all the time, "Victor, I know you must." Unfortunately, young lady, I don't know your background, but I know Victor's, and I know that I bet you get calls all the time saying, "Hey, you got a camera, you edit, you can write, you're a director, let's do something." And then, as I say all the time, I go, that's a good idea. Do you have a script? No. Can you shoot? No. Can you edit? No. What are you going to do? Oh, well, I'm going to be in it with you. Yeah. Hang up the phone. Don't be surrounding yourself with those people because they'll just suck your energy out of you.
Yeah.
Well, very true. Luckily, I don't give away my phone.
I know you don't.
In my-
Wait, but I'm gonna pin it here. Give him a call. He wants to do a film with you. We still haven't done anything together that way, and we need to.
We will. We will. We have in production two feature films, and I think that will be a great thing for you to overdo Oppenheimer. I think you have a way larger potential as a professional actor, and we'll have Colleen supervising, so you don't slack out after Oppenheimer, so you don't get to, you know.
Well, she better be in it. Come on now.
Oh, absolutely.
But
So as you stated, you don't know my background, but I am a multi-hyphenate: actor, director, producer, and writer. So Victor and I have written together before, and I've also been a set producer and line producer with him. So
oh, good.
I do it all.
Well, you and again,
You have
you. I mean, you really do. I mean, people always tell me. I get interviews all the time. They go, trick roping, gun spinning, balloon artist, professional magician, cowboy, blah, 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 all the actor. Why do you do so much? I said because I'm a horrible waiter. And
Yes.
the bottom line is that I did all these things because now, like I'm going next week to Texas because I'm a keynote speaker and I'm going to speak to a very big group of people. And the thing I do is entertainment slash my message, and I trick rope and gun spin and do all that stuff. I tend to do a lot in the middle of the country. But I go in there and keynote and do quite well doing that. But again, diversify yourself, figure out what you need to do. So, because I'm a firm believer that I'm a real big believer in manifesting what you want, but I think that has to do with the energy. Because if you're up here, you're going to experience wonderful things. If you're down here, you're going to be groveling and going, why me? Why me? Why me? And
You know,
all I'm saying is the more skills you add on yourself, the more valuable you are.
that plays into one of my favorite sayings. I'm sure it's a quote from someone. I don't know who to say said it, but that luck is when opportunity meets preparation meets opportunity, right? So it's being prepared is our job, to
Yeah.
always show up and be prepared. That's when you get lucky, because you've been prepared, and then the opportunity is there, and then it happens.
Yeah. And, and I have people all the time say to me, like, when Oppenheimer kind of go, oh, yeah, overnight success. I go, that is a horrible term
It is.
because, I mean, I guess there are those people that showed up on TikTok and went, and then all of a sudden they made the one girl who made $48 million last year. Who knows if that's true, but unfortunately, she was on Fans Only. Point is that $48 million is still $48 million. The point is that it takes an awful lot of work to be lucky.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, to sum up our episode, we're still recording based on film critics. Will, as soon as you're back,
I
5.
just want to confuse your audience when they see the edit. They go, wait a second. Anyway.
Not head off. Wax on, wax off.
The audience would know that you are a professional magician already.
Yeah.
5 critical things that you would say about Oppenheimer that you would wish to improve.
I wish I had a larger role. I wish I had Christopher's number right now. I wish I had more time on set because I really did appreciate the level of professionalism. I mean, there was a couple of statements that were said that were like, in the interviews with the A-listers saying he didn't allow your cell phone on set. And people always say to me, they go, why didn't you get a picture with Christopher and Cillian? And I go, because why didn't they get a picture with me?
Yeah.
I mean, I am not a starstruck person. I mean, I do appreciate certain actors and I'd love to work with them. I've worked with one of them twice. But the point is that this is our job. And if I go into this thing, and that's what I said, is that look at the level I'm at right now in my physical body. If I went into that thing with those people and I went, My line. I probably wouldn't have received the accolades I've received because they would have went, "Oh yeah, he's the guy in the background. He was a general," blah, blah, blah. And they might have even edited it out. Uh, the other thing that I don't know, I wish I would have seen it and it was in 3D. So as you can tell, Victor, I'm giving you exactly what every other politician gives you when you ask them questions. I'm not giving you the answer that you want, and I'm sorry, but I have nothing to criticize about the film because I think it's very good. And I wish that everybody could see it because I get residuals.
Well, art is very subjective, and we can always make something better. So, based on knowing you a little bit, I thought that you would pay attention to the details and have something improved.
I think if they were to come out with one in the future so everybody could enjoy it, I would say that maybe if there was an abridged or Reader's Digest version, I don't know. I mean, I really didn't find any fault with it. I watched it and just went, it's tough because I'm in the film and I went to the Academy Award party and we had a great time and it was a wonderful thing to be able to be. Even right now I can get emotional watching the screen with all the other actors in the film and they went best film Oppenheimer. Those are real. Those are real. And the fact is that it has given me the opportunity after 40 years plus of being an actor. People always go, "Wow, what do you think of that?" I go, "It's about time." And I know where I'm going to go. I know exactly where I'm going to go. But the point is that it takes vehicles like that, or maybe just a really popular vertical.
Yeah.
Well, vehicles and everything, obviously, you could definitely be a good governor instead of Newsom.
Come on, vote for me. Vote for me.
You both do great, one and the same thing. But again, I want to hear from you on more professional level. We can always improve things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, hey, let's find some faults to just discuss them and talk shit about it. No, but in any film or any project that someone does or even I do, I sit down and I dig them up to make something else better. So from you, I'm pushing that on you because you were in there, so it's more complex for you. You've gone through all the film, you got your awards, but what are the things that you believe could be improved? And it's not a negative thing.
No, no, no. I got you. But here's the problem in your questioning. The problem in your questioning is that I've really given you sincerely my answer that I didn't look at the film and go, "Man, I would have shot it like this," or I would have, I would have brought in giraffes, or I didn't look at the film that way. I think perhaps I'm not the best person to ask that because I am so enamored by the experience and the opportunity to be able to play Marshall in that film that I may not be the best person. That's kind of like asking me, I know your daughter's here and that's Frank's daughter. Which one's prettier? Well, what do you think? Not Frank's, my daughter. My point is that even if I dig deep, I mean, it would have to take a little bit longer than this conversation for me to go, all right, I'll go watch it again because I didn't find any faults. I think Christopher Nolan did a brilliant job wrangling, and for lack of better words, wrangling together a cast that was good, very good. I think that the script did a great job at helping it. I appreciate, if anything, the most of it is that he was historically correct in most of everything he did because I talked to the Marshall people. And they did say that, these are some things that they thought historically were a little bit added onto but didn't bother them. But I don't really I don't think it's my job. I'm not, nowhere in my signature on my email does it say I'm a critic. And you're asking me to, in essence, sort of take on a critic's hat when in reality I don't have anything critically um, difficult about the movie, and nor do I choose to do that because I don't. I've gotten nothing but positive off that. I mean, even if I try to think about it, cinematography was awesome. I love the music. I think it did a great job. Okay, okay, okay. I wish that the relationship with him and Fugue or whatever her name was, the one who committed suicide. I wish that was a teeny bit more defined, or maybe I don't know. But I think that would have been a distraction. So again, I'm going to take that back and say I think they did a great job.
Well, thank you very
And I'm
much.
not scapegoating, and I'm not trying to avoid something because I think that you're going to air this, and then I'm going to get a call from Christopher going, "You'll never work with me again, or in this town." I don't think that's true because I'm not. I mean, I don't see any. I'm blessed that I had that opportunity, and I think it was a fine piece of theater.
Well, obviously, it's a great piece. It doesn't mean if it has something we can improve, it doesn't mean it's bad. Colleen, to wrap up our episode, let's hear something from you.
Well, this has been really interesting. This is nothing like what I thought we were going to talk about, which is better because we were all quite in the moment and speaking from our heart and authentically, and I think that's the best that we could do. And I find that Oppenheimer itself, it was a very good movie. The one thing that, like I said in the beginning, that I wish, if we're going to do, I wish they had done better. I would have loved to have seen, tracking from the beginning with him, more of his struggles, even over what they did with his mental anxiety and the problems that he had. Because when I read like more of a biography, when I went down that road as opposed to how it was presented theatrically, it played a huge part in his life. And so I would have liked to have seen a little more of that explained or something, but that's just me.
Of course. Yeah. No, rightfully so. I understand your point because if you didn't pull that out and it wasn't a strong enough thread, then I get it. And this is a good example of what you were saying, Victor, is that you're not saying that's wrong with the film.
Right.
You're just saying that from a standpoint of yours, you would have liked as a viewer to see that more developed because
Yes.
that's important. Now, from my standpoint, and what you just said, my concern for that would be, is it then just going to become some sort of like 2023, 24, here we go, mental health thing where we're focusing on that instead of the creation of the most destructive thing that's ever been created. So
Well,
that would be
the
my
man who
only concern.
created the man who created it had those issues. I think the tying of the two together is a really relevant story.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I thought, but for me, I saw it from the beginning. I mean, he tried to poison. He was. I saw his mental anguish from day one, and I maybe because I had chain smoking parents, and I knew that they were stressed out about being able to afford to pay attention. But the point is that I saw that anguish. But I understand what you're saying. I appreciate you guys, and I know you're wrapping this up. By the way, I'm just going to do a plug. Outlaw filmmaker, content creator, my YouTube channel. It's just Outlaw Filmmaker. I'd love to have people go there because I'm trying to create verticals and regular content showing people how to make films and content and do it the way you should so you can monetize and make money. So I hope you can check that out.
That's
And
great.
and I'm running around keynote speaking, so get me on my website because I'd love to come talk to you.
We'll definitely add the links if you don't mind texting them to me or emailing them to me so we have it when we premiere the episode. But again, thank you very much. Colleen, thank you very much. Will, thank you for making Oppenheimer watchable. A great film. I had the best naps of my life. I think we have to have more films like this one, like Iron Man, when you can just go to the movie theater and sleep.
Yeah,
It
and
explodes and you sleep.
and I'll say to you, Colleen, and I want everybody here to hear this publicly, that I do apologize. But it is a good debate in the beginning that we had. And I always want to make sure that people understand that, I'm not trying to shoot the messenger. And I appreciate what you were saying. And I think at some other later date, we can have that conversation about the two different
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, no, it's great.
Well,
That's
if we have that happening, let's make sure that I am recording so we can have content monetized.
absolutely, Victor.
Okay, thank you all.
So
Have a great rest of your
I
day.
say to you, Colleen, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Colleen. And I don't, please don't take what I said offensive.
I absolutely do not.
Good.
I'm good. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.